is the Kate Daly Show.
God bless America, the land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with a light from above.
Oh, how much I love this country. Welcome back, Kate Daly Show. And of course, we're talking about a subject that this should not be taboo on the radio. This should be something that people talk about all the time. We used to, but we've gotten away from that. It's really hurt us as a nation. And now we have the wackadoodle. We've got the poorly informed, completely uneducated. We've got people are fighting for their country, and you've got other people going, "What are you doing?" So, all right. So let's go back to this because this is, I think, compelling for those that don't know that they even put it into rulers of 10 and or people over 10 people, and they were called tithers. You also had a system of the people over the 10 go to the person that's over the 50, and then the person over the 50 to the person over the 100. And that's where it wasn't to rule over them and tell them what to do. It was just about representation at its finest. Okay, that it worked this way because you were able to have a group of 100 million, 10 million, 1 million, or 1,000, and it all worked the same. And that's what the beauty of this is, and that we don't understand in this country that this is what it was based on. So then the simplicity of it, Moses, I think probably was kind of shocked to see the simplicity of this as he was given this. And the Bible says there were over 600,000 adults available for military service, and that you had your groups of 10, they had 60,000 elected captains over those units, and then divided those 600,000 heads of families into 50s, and on, right?
So in relation to our government today,
Yeah.
one of the ways our government has manipulated away from that into more control for the government are the size of the way representative districts are apportioned, and gerrymandering.
Yeah.
Gerrymandering allows the government to change the boundaries of the districts so that the people in them are the people they want in them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's so against the law.
I remember, RFK, when he was having all of his kids, and his wife Ethel was on TV, and they made a point to say that she was having so many kids, she was developing her own precinct, and the audience laughed and laughed. It reminds me of that. So important to understand that this was how you provided for the defense of the people and an efficient administration of millions of people, and in this case, 3 million people. But it can work for 100 million. And so another thing that I think is hard to understand is these principles were revealed at Mount Sinai. And the founders made a study of the Anglo-Saxons. Very, very important. This is so important to understand. Jefferson went to the trouble to learn Anglo-Saxon language so that he could study their laws in their original text, and then acquire this insight into how the system operated. Because when you're starting a country and a representation of government that has not been done besides for this time, which was so long ago, you have to do something, right? You have to do something that's going to work, that you know is going to last. And so when we say divinely appointed, we're not kidding around about that. This is divinely appointed. This was given to Moses. But he actually went to the trouble to learn that language and was impressed with the way that the Anglo-Saxons followed the Mosaic formula by dividing their families into tens, 50s, 100s, and thousands. And then, of course, how to get the surrounding rural people in on certain groups, and how to include the rural people plus the people that were all living together. And he called a ward. You can call them a ward. And this is what the early settlers started to do. So the early settlers of New England copied the system and called each voting community a ward. And Jefferson was really impressed by the efficiency of these really small basic units of self-government. And he wrote to John Adams as follows: these wards called townships in New England are the vital principle of their governments and have proved themselves the wisest invention ever devised by the wit of man for the petite exercise of self-government and for its preservation.
So, what went wrong?
Well,
No, I mean, if we
I'm
think
with you.
about
What
this,
went wrong?
it's all about the proper representation. Let's discuss polling for a second. How does a representative understand what his constituency wants? He goes to the people and says, here's what's being proposed. How do you feel about that? If your constituency is 30,000 people, it's pretty easy to poll 30,000 people.
Yes.
When your constituency is 4 million people, it's a little more difficult to find out what these 4 million people actually can come to a consensus about. So that's why early in our government, they started restricting the amount of representation we had. Then they say, well, we polled 800 people.
So true.
Yeah, that and if you go back to the way it's supposed to be, we would have that representation.
It's so true. So the size of the township or ward had to be sufficient for the community itself, as well as the surrounding farms, to pull those people in, and then make sure that everyone could get governed under this representation. Now, here's the problem in America. We think that the elected official goes to the people and says, what do you want me to do? And the people seeking favors, of course, because it's the nature of man, come back with a long laundry list of favors they would like government to take your tax dollars and give to you. They are supposed to say, that's nice, but I got to go by the Constitution.
Right.
That's a great idea, but we're not doing that because it doesn't fit within the Constitution. But we don't see that anymore. You don't see mayors and city councils and all of these people that govern city. You don't see them do that. They just want to make sure that the people are happy, so they're willing to give the people what they want, and the people don't always know the Constitution. The elected official is supposed to know the Constitution. That's the job.
Well, and it's not just that the people don't understand the Constitution. It's that the people don't always understand the cost of these things. Hey, it sounds wonderful. I guess next week we're going to build everybody in the town a house. Doesn't that sound great?
Yeah.
Well, how are we going to do it?
Yeah. The whole missing link is that they don't know what to govern with, so they just think pleasing the people is going to be in the big happy place, and they'll be put back in to please the people more
and keep themselves in power.
Yeah. And that's why a lot of people out there go, we live in a democracy. No. We have representation of the Constitution, representation of the people based on the Constitution, not just a representative for what everybody's list of Christmas wishes are. No, it's about what's legal, what we're allowed to do.
And that's another thing. If there's a question about the constitutionality of a law, it's supposed to be the Supreme Court that tells us, no, it isn't.
Right.
But they don't do that unless we ask them to do it.
Yep.
And we don't ask them to do it anymore. Yeah. We just let the laws fly.
Yeah. Just do whatever. It's not really laws anymore because we're not going by anything. We're just
it's edicts.
Yeah.
It's not laws, it's edicts.
So true. So true. So this was all about making sure that people could be peaceably expressing, discussing, deciding on, the common reason of the society at the time. And he was marveling at these early settlers that would do that under the system. And of course, remember when they tried to go into socialism and that didn't work. So they figured out what didn't work, and that was socialism.
Yeah.
Clearly, especially, when it came down to their farming habits, and they realized that, no, you can't have the commune. You have to, it's okay to, and it's a good thing, not just okay, but it's what we should do. And that is to have private property ownership and be a steward over your land.
Yeah.
Be right back on the Kate Daly Show.
There you go. Thanks for listening to The Kate Daly Show. All opinions expressed by the program participants on The Kate Daly Show are solely their own and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of